and you need to delegate tasks that you are not the best at to other people that are the best at those things, because your return on investment for those things is going to be much higher than if you spent your time doing these things instead of being in the treatment room.
Dr. Duncan says, if you want to know about business, health, and places to go, welcome to the show. Yeah, welcome to the show. If you know that you want to grow your business, your practice, and portfolio, welcome to the show.
Hello, and welcome to $1 Million Chiro, the podcast for chiropractic practice owners. I'm your host, Dr. Mary Frances Duncan, founder and CEO of Simply Southern Chiropractic Center in South Carolina. I'm a chiropractor by trade and an entrepreneur's body. I'm excited to guide you through this journey at the crossroads of chiropractic care and the art of successful practice management. If you haven't already, check out my website, milliondollarchiro.co, where you can access all of our previous podcasts, online courses, and gain more insight on one-on-one coaching with me. And don't forget to stay connected by following us on all social media platforms at $1 Million Chiro. You can listen to $1 Million Chiro, the podcast, on all popular streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Ultimately, if you enjoy what you're hearing, please hit that subscribe button and leave us a glowing 5-star review. Reviews allow us to hear from our listeners and what interests you. Now, let's get to the backbone of it all. All right, we are back with part 2 of marketing tips to stop making. I'm here with my executive assistant, Kelsey, and we are ready to dive into numbers 5 through 7.
Hello, everybody. And like I said in part 1, thank you so much, Dr. Duncan, for having me. All right, so I am going to start with breaking down all the tips that you should stop making, and then we'll hop into 5 through 7, which are the tips we have not talked about yet. So, tip number 1 is stop doing the marketing yourself. Tip number 2 is stop doing health fairs. Tip number 3 is stop marketing in the health and wellness arenas. Tip number 4 is stop forgetting about the long game. Tip number 5 is stop assuming that your online following correlates with your business success. Number 6 is stop forgetting to brand you. And number 7 is stop using stock photos on your website and use a local lifestyle photographer. Now, we did talk through tips 1 through 4 on our first episode. So if you haven't listened to that, please go check that out before you hop over to this one, or you can listen to that one right after this. But before we even get into it, I think that the biggest thing that you should take away from this podcast and really focus on is that you are a chiropractor first. You're a business owner first. That is what you should be focusing on. You need to focus on what you do best. But at the same time, in this day and age, marketing is required. We are required every single day to check on our social following, check on what's going on the digital world, because that is the world we live in. So you have to stay current in the marketing, and you have to brand consistently in front of your audience. But you also can follow some tips and tricks to help you along the way. So let's go ahead and start with tip number 5 and hop right back on into our list. And number 5 is stop assuming that your online following correlates with your business success. Now, Dr. Duncan, I'm sure you have plenty to say about this, so why don't you hop on into it?
Yes, so this is a great tip to get started with.
Right.
So in a nutshell, the amount of social media followers you have does not correlate to how well your business is going to do. So I realized this when I would see other chiropractors, and I knew they had smaller clinics than we did, have 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 followers. And I thought, oh my goodness, like, what are we doing wrong? Like, why are we not getting patients from social media? Why do we not have all these followers? I always assume that your number of followers correlated with how well your business is doing. And to be quite frank, there is not always a correlation. So, just as a little history, I opened up my first clinic in 2015, and social media did exist. Facebook existed, Instagram existed, TikTok was not a thing. I think Snapchat was a thing. Um, but we I started a social page for my business, but that was not that big of a thing back then. And so I've seen social media evolve over time, and I've realized that people, first of all, however they hear about you, if they a lot of people do find you on Google, but say they find you on Google, the first thing they're gonna do is go to your website, and then they may check out your social media, and those 2 things validate you as a clinic. Are you a real clinic? What do your Google reviews look like? Um, what is your vibe? Like, what is your online presence? So people are not always calling for new patient appointments because they saw you on social media, but they definitely look at social media as a validation tool to make sure that you know what you're talking about and that your office is legit. So I have learned over time, when COVID started, we couldn't go out and do in-person events, which we were very good at, and we like doing in-person events, and we're very successful at. So we had to start doing a lot of digital and online marketing, and we really increased our online presence in 2020. And I remember this was actually in Greenville, South Carolina. Do you guys remember the dancing dentist? He That was like the first professional that I ever saw get popular on Instagram, on social media, for doing the little fun dances. And so he was in our town, and he just got all these followers very quickly. And um, so I thought that's what we were supposed to be doing as professionals, to get followers. And then I started. We're so busy as a clinic, and we have been. I've been blessed with that. We don't have time to do dances on social media all the time. And so we did it, and then I started to look around at other large clinics of some of my friends in the United States, and they had a social following of, like, 1,000, 2,000 people, but they didn't have tens of thousands of followers. But I knew that they were very successful clinics, very busy clinics, very robust clinics. And then I would see smaller clinics, even in our town, that I knew weren't doing that well. From our association, you know what clinics are doing well and who aren't in your state and in your area, and they have tons of followers. So then I realized, like, the number of followers you have does not correlate to lead generation. And so my opinion on this is, if you are busy, you don't have time to do all this stuff. We have outsourced social media at this point, and we plan time in our calendar, in our day, to film for social media because it is necessary and it is important. But we just can't do live things on the fly. We are too busy. We don't have the time for this. And so I just got so worked up about that for a couple years. And then I realized, like, we don't always get patients directly from social media. And if we do, they're not usually the best patients, and they don't stay. People use social media and your website as a tool to validate you as an office.
Right. All right, so let's talk about tip number 6, which is a really big tip that our social media manager actually plugged in for us, which is stop forgetting to brand you. And so we figured if she was talking about this, then it is most definitely important, and something that we do, I feel like, a very good job at, which is branding who we are as Simply Southern Chiropractic Center. So, Dr. Duncan, kind of talk us through the importance of branding yourself.
So, as a business owner and a leader in your community, I think it is important in this day and age, in 2024, to also have a personal brand. So, you are the leader of your company, you are the owner and of your clinic. You employ a lot of employees, probably. You see a lot of patients, and people are connected to people. So people are not always connected to a brand, but they're connected to the people that are inside of that brand and make up that brand. So I think it's great on your office social media. You really need to be showcasing the wonderful chiropractors that are in your clinic and your wonderful team members and staff members. But also, you can give community members and patients and your peers an insight into your personal life if you want to share that on your personal social media page. And I do think that there needs to be a separation between personal social media accounts and business social media accounts. You need to keep personal things personal, politics, religion, opinions on hot topics. That all needs to be on your, if you're going to showcase that, which I don't even recommend. Um, some of these hot topics for you to even talk about them on your personal social media page at all. But if you are, it definitely needs to happen on the personal brand and not on your business brand, because you need to separate those two. Your employees may not agree with you. Your listen up, podcast listeners. Your patients may not agree with you on their political views, and your patients don't need to know where you stand um, with your political views. Like, you are a provider for people in your community to get better, and it's not your job to press your political beliefs or, in my opinion, your religious beliefs on your patients. You can show your religion by your actions. If you have to go around telling people that you are the best Christian in the world, or if you have to talk about your religion and all these good things that you do, I think that's a window into your own life. Like, you should be able to show these things to people, not just talk about them. And same thing for politics. Like, we're all human beings. We need to realize this, and we may have different beliefs on things. I will probably, or I know have a lot of different beliefs than the majority of our patients um, on the political spectrum, but they're entitled to their opinion. I'm entitled to mine, and it's not appropriate to talk about those things in the clinic. It's not appropriate to talk about those things on your business social media page. And if you just have this itch to talk about these things and you can't help yourself, that needs to be on your personal page. But I do think branding yourself as a business leader, as a community leader, as an industry leader, I think it's great to showcase yourself and your life, maybe some of your accomplishments, how you got to where you are, maybe sharing some heartaches, because people can relate to you with those things. That is something that you can share on your personal media, social media, and brand yourself that way. And I'm a millennial. I grew up with when Facebook started. I didn't get that till college. Social media, we didn't have cell phones when I was in elementary school, middle school. I didn't really get one until college. So we learned as millennials about the internet as the internet grew. And just remember, a reminder to everybody, whatever you put on the internet never dies. It will always be there. And so be careful about the things that you post online on your personal social media account, because you may not be the same person that you are today in 10 years, and you may not like what you posted. So I think having a public personal social media brand is a double-edged sword. I think you can use it for good, and people can connect with you that way. But I also think it can be very off-putting if you are sharing things that you probably shouldn't be. So be careful with that. But I think I connect with people on a personal level, I feel like, through social media, and I think that's definitely trending and where things are going.
Right. And when it comes to branding who you are, I think that also can extend into your practice. I mean, we really showcase, I feel like our social media for Simply Southern Chiropractic Center is an extension of our office and our energy here, and how bubbly and fun we can be, but also how focused we are on making our community feel appreciated and taken care of. And that can just be shown by what you post every single day.
Yes, I think people want to see who is the person behind the business.
Right.
So, Simply Southern Chiropractic Center and Million Dollar Chiro, these are just extensions of my personal life.
Right.
This is what I eat, breathe, and live. And so it gives my followers on this podcast, it gives our patients an insight into who is running this business that I'm spending money at, who is running this podcast, who I am taking advice from. And I think it, um, people like transparency. They want to see who is behind a brand.
Right. All right. So, tip number 7, our last tip of all of the tips you should stop making, is stop using stock photos on your website and use a local lifestyle photographer. Dr. Duncan, go ahead.
I hate stock photos. Like I don't even I would not post on social media or even put pictures on my website if they were stock photos. I hate them. Like if you want to be like everybody else, just go on,
Google.
I guess, or Adobe. I don't know enough about this, but I think it's Adobe stock
Yeah.
photos
Yeah.
and just get some of those photos. They're just so fake. It's so easy to get your own professional photos. And if you do it on a regular basis and you don't have to get a lot done at one time, it can be affordable. And I think it's worth the investment. We now have a library, an arsenal of pictures that professional pictures that we've had taken every 6 to 9 months for the last decade, and we still can use a lot of those photos. So make your content personal to you. If you're going to have a generic social media or a generic website, I mean, why even have it? I understand you do have to have a website, even if you do have stock photos, which I don't recommend, but why even have a social media? I mean, I don't care about seeing Canva graphic and, um, you know, people smiling, that all look the same. So I want real people. I want, our tagline for Simply Southern Chiropractic Center is real health care for real people. And I want to see real people on our office social media page. And I want to, you know, hear real information and see real photos and videos on my personal social media pages.
Right. Very on Dr. Duncan's personal or Simply Southern, do you see repeat offenders when it comes to photos? Because
We don't have any stock photos and we don't I think we've repeated a photo like 2 or 3 times in 10
if
years. Like,
necessary, yeah.
yes, and I am a stickler on that. I hate that.
Yes. Well, and that's the good
Put
thing about
time
it.
into this.
Right. It takes time, and I think you're really gonna be able to use content that you're proud of and content that really showcases your brand, like we're talking about in step 6. You have to showcase your brand, and this is the brand, not a random photo of someone that you don't even know.
Yes, like, I want to showcase we are a small business,
Mhm.
in our town. We are not a franchise. This is a female-owned, um, small business, and I want that to show, through our social media pages, through our website. When people do their validation of our office, when they look at these things, I want them to see this. If I see stock photos or Canva graphics on a business, social media page, I immediately think that's garbage. It's just trash. It's a waste. It's a waste of my time looking at the page, and it was a waste of the time of the person that put it up.
So, all conclusion, it might just be better to get a local photographer. So, Dr.
Or even you can take great photos with, your iPhone.
Surely, yeah. I mean, even our I feel like even our social content, we really try and keep it new and fresh. And we meet with our media manager at least once a month to talk about new content and what we're planning. And me and her work together when it comes to the content that we're producing and making sure that we're filming new stuff and new people consistently, in order just to kind of showcase even different aspects of the brand that people might have not even seen yet. So, Dr. Duncan, lastly but not least, we have this little blurb down at the bottom of our notes that's we've mentioned twice now in the beginning of both of these podcasts, but I just want to hear your thoughts on this. Ultimately, you're a chiropractor at the end of the day. You shouldn't be worrying about these things. Why do you believe that these tips are so critical when it comes to focusing on running your own practice?
Well, this is the digital age,
Yeah.
and if you don't change, you die. So, we've gotta keep growing, and people are marketing online. And this is how things are happening in 2024. So you've got to have a social media presence. You've got to have a jam up website. You've got to have a presence on Google. You have to have good Google reviews, and don't fight it, because if you fight it, this is a losing battle. So you might as well get on board now and understand that this is important, and people want real content that is authentic, real pictures, real photos, real stories. And they want a taste of what they're going to get in your clinic when they come. And so I think, you can really embrace digital marketing and social media to really help you grow. And again, like, I know absolutely nothing about SEO and digital advertising. Like that, we totally outsource that. Social media, could I do it? Yes. Is that the best use of my time? Absolutely not. Do I hate it? Absolutely. I have so much other stuff I've got to do, but it is important. We do have a social media manager that she helps us. Now, we do have to get the content. We have to get real, authentic, transparent content, but then outsource that to somebody else if you can. And the one thing that you can do as a chiropractor that no one else in your clinic can do is adjust patients. Adjusting patients is your bread and butter. Everything else supplements the adjustment. And remember that that is what is making you money. That is what is paying your salary. That is what is paying the staff members that work on your team. You got to keep that in mind. You got to keep focused. And if you're the chiropractic business owner, you've got to run your clinic. You have to have vision. You have to lead your team, because that is what's going to keep your doors open. And that's what's going to keep your staff paid and your staff happy and have fulfilling careers as well as your own.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much, Dr. Duncan, for talking with me on all things marketing and tips you should stop making. And I'm sure we will have plenty of other podcasts that really focus on the marketing side of running a business. All right, so we will see you guys in the next episode, and we look forward to talking to you then.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye. And that's a wrap on another episode of $1 Million Chiro, the podcast. I hope you enjoyed diving into the world where chiropractic care meets successful practice management. I'm Dr. Mary Frances Duncan, your host. Remember, you can find all of our previous episodes, online courses, and details about personalized coaching with me on our website, milliondollarchiro.co.